Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Daniel Leet with Scott Newton in the cameras tonight. And Daniel, this is the first endurance round of the championship. We've got a few of these coming up over the next few weeks of the season, but this is where some big points are on offer and when the season really does get underway.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Sam. To everyone, congratulations. Oh, yeah, thank you for tuning in first off. Yeah, as you say, mate, we are first round of 4 back-to-back endurance championship events at the moment. 90 minutes for all of these 4, as opposed to the standard 45 that we normally see throughout the course of the championship. Does bring a few little new additions. You know, the now 2 pit stops for everyone to go through, 1 mandatory stop for all 4 tyres to take. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the guys want to play it with some of the new setups and tweaks that have come across.
Thought I'd just say a little bit of an update on the last round of the championship. Those of you who saw the Suzuka round of the season, I think it was round 4 of the championship. Virtual safety cars really threw it all up in the air. We had several post-race penalties, one of which was for our race winner Joshua Thomas, who slipped down the order after getting, I think, a 30-second time penalty added onto his time at the end of the race. And so Ross Rizzo won the last race of the championship, and he's right up there in the championship with Joshua Thomas as well. It's been impressive, actually, how Rizzo has come back this season, it must be said, Daniel. I mean, last season he had a little bit of an underwhelming season. He's running the Ford again this championship as well. And despite being a little bit under the radar, he's kind of been able to bash in those top 10s consistently. And once again, here at Daytona, an extremely strong qualifying. He's got his first pole position of the season as well.
Yeah, he's really driving the wheels off the Ford at the moment. I mean, we did see earlier in the start of the season, the car did struggle a little bit, similar last season as well, where it wasn't quite up to the pace that we'd seen previous to that. So there has been quite a lot of work done behind the scenes to help bring, obviously, the balanced performance back into it. For Ross tonight, the aid of a massive toe really helped, and the slipperiness of that car certainly came through for him. So they're in a very good position tonight.
Yeah, Rizzo on pole by about 0.3 of a second. There was a pre-qualifying session earlier on, and that decided the order for this grid, and also who got into this top split of this Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. So many drivers always sign up for this series, and only the top 40 get into this top split. So once again, really high quality. Rizzo on pole then. Kane Ryder in second place. Then it's Lee Vandenberg. Much better qualifying there for Berg. So that's good to see. Haber, who was very strong at the first round of the season. We saw him at Suzuka. Really had a chance of winning on that occasion. Martin Crisp, top of the amateur drivers. He's really been a driver who's improved throughout the season. Craig Edwards starts in 6th. Then it's Jeremy Clark. Joshua Thomas, a disappointing qualifying for him, down in 8th. He's got pole positions already this season. Matt Morris, Timothy Beeben, former champion. Eddie Beswick, first time I've seen him around. Hayden Beld, Hugh Bartzer, Jordan Pruden, Michael Healy, Trent Thomas, Michael Whiting, Mario Bertani, Nathan Huppertz, Vaughan Ryder, Scott Sislowski, Miles Burgess, Robert Chrisdale, Sean Carron, Lockie Brown, Chris Keeping, Adrian Block, Jordan Carlos, Grady McHugh, Tom Huggan, Julian Clean Boosting, Chris Pellet, Scott Gamble, Christopher Hughes, Marcel Silvassi, Alex Crater, Carl Dawson, Dave Clements, Aaron Specchier, and Pat Gallo. That is all the drivers. 42 drivers, in fact, out there. Apologies if any of those names were in the wrong order, but they were close enough. So 19 minutes of racing, a couple of pit stops, mandatory for these drivers. One of those pit stops, they're going to have to take tyres. We're expecting safety cars. We're expecting virtual safety cars. It's going to be all up in the air, and we've got 10 or 11 drivers who could win this first enduro of the championship. The Porsche pace car will soon peel off into the pits, and upon that, Ross Rizzo will have his opportunity to pull away from pole position. The green flag is out, and we are underway racing at Daytona. Rizzo with a strong start. Ryder trying to hold back Vandenberg going into turn 1. However, the BMC might be able to get down his inside. There he goes, standing inside, flashing the lights a little bit as well. Oh, he got a car spun right in the middle of the circuit. Almost in slow motion, the drivers were there. it took an age for everyone else to get to them, and in the end, not a whole lot of contact. That was maybe Tom Huggin getting a bit of contact, Chris Keeping as well, and also Jordan Cullis, I think may have been the car who was spun around. Oh, I'm hearing a lot of contact down at turn 2. That's almost a bit of a pile-up there, and we've got 5, 6, 7 cars all round at the moment. Just wondering if we're going to have to need a safety car at the moment. If a driver does need to tow back to the pits, we will get a safety car or a virtual safety car, as we saw at Suzuka. At the moment, no call coming from the stewards. I think most of the drivers will be able to get back underway, but this is always a tricky start here, Daniel, and we've seen that once again as Nicholson has a spin going on to the oval for the first time.
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward start there in the mid-pack. We saw it fan right out to about 5 to 6 wide as everyone tried to funnel their way through. And while we did have that Ferrari rotate through the middle, it looked like everyone was able to give really good avoidance and mostly missed that. Unfortunately, when we got down into the hairpin, then it all sort of unfolded, and we've seen a really big split now in the field. So from 25th back to 34th is our second pack tonight. Then we've got quite a few stragglers now starting to work their way through the start of the first lot of the ovals to get back in. So surprised we didn't see a safety car as a result of that, but we don't have any retirements at this point as well, which is great to see.
Could be a change for the lead. Vandenberg already up one place. It was a poor start for Kane Reiser in the end. He did well initially to hold on to second place, but I think he then lost second and then third through the infield section, if anything. I think he was on the oval, and there is a bit of a breakaway at the moment. It's really important that you get a breakaway around this like such slipstream oriented, and these drivers are so evenly matched as well on pace. And if the top 6 get away, as it looks as though they have done at the moment, it's going to be tricky for the others to catch up. Jeremy Clark running in 8th place at the moment. He is down 1 place. He's just got past Martin Crisp. It looks like he's down 4 places. And this train really intense all the way back to Bartonian, back in 16th place, and it's pretty close as well, with a few cars behind him as well. So we are about to head on to the oval for the second time. Clark just within slipstream range right now of Phoeben. Timothy Phoeben's not a bad driver, former champion in this race. In fact, defending champion in this race. Hasn't necessarily driven quite as competitively as he did last season so far. But at the moment up in 7th place, a few places going for him, and if Clark and these others can keep up with Phoeben, they've got a decent chance of catching back up to the leading train.
Yeah, definitely. The key for a lot of the guys around here, and we've seen it, in NASCAR as well, if you can get some 2x2 action and use each other to work your way through, you're definitely in with a better shot. A little bit further back, we're watching Matt Morris trying to come around the side of Martin Crisp, just not able to hold the draft. Further back, though, we've got Hugh Barter, Michael Healy, and Trent Thomas all getting involved in it. And up front, Lee Vandenberg now going around the outside of the Trick Esports car down into turn 1. That's a great move around the outside there.
Such a weird turn 1 here. It's not a case of just outbraking your rival like you'd see at a lot of conventional circuits. Instead, it's kind of quite an awkward corner, just kind of serving a purpose to get onto the road course, and so it can be very tricky to overtake there at times, but when you've got that much momentum, just sweep things straight round the outside for Berg. However, you really doubt he's going to be able to pull away with such a strategy-orientated race as this is, where you want to save a bit of fuel. So you question whether you want to be leading at the moment. These guys staying very patient. Haber up into 3rd place. He's got past... right, apologies, that happened on the first lap. Just haven't noticed Harley Haber a whole lot so far in the stage, which is rare for him. Matt Morris down to 24th. He's had a spin going into the second horseshoe. You can see he was ahead of a couple of guys, ahead of one of the Chick Esports drivers, and a penalty actually for Bettis as well. It's just by himself, if anything, for the line 6-6. I think that was when he was battling with Trent Thomas up in 12th place there, so it's dropped him outside the top 20 now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward spot there. He's trying to move the car across. Don't think there was contact behind, but just catching the grass there, rotating the car in. Lucky not to go through that tyre barrier, because once you go through there, you do get the magical little drop back into the pit lane and a long tow as a result of that. So good for Morris that he can get back underway. Up front, however, the train's starting to squeeze out just a little bit. Kane Ryder, you can see in the background, trying to look for a move under the inside of Harley Haber. Ross Rizzo likewise coming back at Lee Vandenberg, and we'll sweep back across the front into turn 1, gets the forward pulled up quite nicely. Actually, Vandenberg loses the second spot, so Kane Ryder also getting through there as well.
I'm not sure if that was deliberate there from Ryder. I think Berg was just so early on the brakes, just not biting anyone, and he's opened up that opportunity. And I mean, we say it every single time, don't we? We do say it every single time, and it probably gets annoying for all you viewers. But we do constantly mention how what necessarily is the point in fighting at this time of the race. It doesn't look like anyone's got the pace to pull away. And what you're doing in this situation, probably burning a little bit extra fuel and potentially inviting the likes of Theben into the back of the plateau as well. You can see Theben, Clark, and Beswick all pretty close behind. Specchio now with a penalty. It's taken the Stewards a little while to get through these penalties. There were quite a few incidents on the opening lap of the race, but they are making their way through. I'm sure they'll soon be back up to date as well. But yeah, Specchio now with a penalty. He is outside the top 20. Anyway, is Specchio. Sean Carron now on the back of Julian Clean Boosink, a driver Clean Boosink who's always very good in the races. Clean Boosink. I'm always surprised when I don't see him in the top 10. To be honest, Daniel, I don't know what's happened to Clean Boosink today, and we've had a couple of qualifyings like this so far this season. But we know that in the race he's capable of getting top 10. I think at Mid-Ohio, I think he may have got the 6th place in the Enduro, but stay a long way from that as it got Brown now in the wall.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one for Klimbusink to be as far down as he is. Let's have a quick look here at this replay from Lockie Brown down through the bus stop on the back there, actually just picking up a little bit extra grass on the inside there, gets into the wall. Doesn't look to be too hard, but now he's got to try and rotate that car around without getting in the way, so that's going to drop him well out of contention. Actually returned down in 35th position, so a lot of work for him left to do. But for Julian, has changed to the Ford from the BMW that we saw at the start of the season. I still think maybe a little bit of work required in the Ford just to get it up to the outright pace. I know we had Ross Rizzo get the pole tonight with the help of some drafting, but outright pace at the moment in the Ford just not quite there.
Just need some pit stops for these drivers further down the order, and it could come to them. Only on lap turn 5 at the moment with these penalties. I do feel for the skiers that they are going to sort through a lot of stuff. Dave Clements. Oh dear. Well, whoever's given him that penalty, I'm not sure if they'll be in the series a whole lot longer. Clements with a penalty then, and that will be a drive-through. Fortunately for these drivers who've got drive-through, it's not too bad a drive-through penalty round there, so they're very quick pit lane. Which makes it very tricky to stop for your pit stall. Usually you kind of put on the brakes about 20 metres before your pit stall. Around here you've got to really offer a lot longer, otherwise you'll overshoot it. We've seen that countless times on Apex Racing TV over the years, and on the esports network for that matter. But for the drive-throughs, so it doesn't lose you too much time. Here comes Haber. They're all boxed in, and he's all round the outside of them all. Thank you very much. You'll get one. Can he get another? Rizzo doesn't want to give up this place. Rizzo would quite like to stay in second place for as long as possible, but he is going to lose out on that one now. And Haber with a couple of places gained right there. However, taking that line, not taking the slipstream, the others were lifting and coasting. Seems to be a bit of a divide between one track position and wanting to fuel save, as we've got Jeremy Clark around as well. He was doing well, was Jeremy Clark. He started up in 7th place. He was running in the top 10 still, but not anymore.
Yeah, just see, I think there was a little bit of contact there. One of the Mark 1 cars, see, just getting into the rear corner of that car. So for Clark there, does stop, lets everyone through. So safe rejoin from him, but ultimately has dropped him a long way back down the order. I think that was Martin Crisp sort of getting involved there. So keep an eye on that. Crisp, though, now into 13th position, has dropped 8 spots, however, from where he started. So a bit of a tough night already for him, but he's got Michael Whiting right behind and trying to close the gap back up to Michael Healy for Trick Esports.
Beswick was the one who made a bit of contact with Clark. Oh dear, stewards will have a look at that, I imagine. I believe the stewards pretty much look at every time a car goes stationary. It'll pop up on their little system, and they'll click on it and see what what exactly happens. Unfortunately, you get a lot of useless stuff. A very, very small amount of those things actually prove to be useful. As around the outside again goes Berg on Rizzo. So Rizzo, so Rizzo down into third place after being overtaken on the last lap by Haber, and he's home to defend more. Beeben isn't quite close enough to these guys at the moment, but you can see when they're fighting, the gap comes down significantly. 2 seconds now is Beeben lacking. On that last lap, he was actually 4 tenths faster than the race is, but the lap before that, he was 4 tenths slower. But the man is just maintaining at about 2 seconds. I'm sure he'd love to be in the slipstream. It'll make this race so much easier for him. The problem is, right now he's burning through a lot of fuel compared to the guys ahead. Just needs to catch a break to Beeben, and these guys will slow down for a lap or two, and he'll be right into this lead fight.
Yeah, definitely. And for Beeben at the moment, he's starting to drag along a couple of additional cars behind him. So Eddie Broswick, who potentially is going to have a penalty hanging over his head for that contact with Jeremy Clark, and Hugh Barter as well coming up for Evolution Racing Team. So those three starting to work their way back in. For Beeben, actually probably not a bad idea. He'll be able to drop back in behind the slipstream, maybe save a little bit of fuel to help him get that momentum back up and can close back in. The lap times have dropped or sort of settled now into a little bit of a plateau. The tyres equaling out now, so we're seeing the guys all around the 43.5 range at this point, utilising the draft. So no one's really going too hard. We have seen a few guys with the aid of the draft and maybe getting a pass there like Haber did before, drop back into the 42s, but everyone seems to back the pace down just a little bit more, help those tyres stay in there and start improving the fuel economy.
Oh, they're fighting now. Bart is like, guys, come on, get a move on. That was all a bit unnecessary. Beswick wanted to go for the move on Beeben, even though he doubt that he's any faster than Beeben. To be fair, Beswick, a driver who I haven't seen in this series before, maybe doesn't quite appreciate how fast Beeben is. Although when you see the number 1 on the car ahead, that's a pretty good sign that they're a quality driver. Beeben very much saying, pretty sure I'm faster than you, mate, and not letting him go. But that has also a bit of time. That's going to lose some time as well. Clean Boosink making contact down at the horseshoe, and he is battling with Alex Crater at the moment. Crater up 17 places under the radar, managed to somehow get through the lap 1 mess, despite the fact that must have been right in the epicenter of it all. And he is past Clean Boosink. Not sure if he's just defending at the moment or just made up that place. They have got 5 seconds though up to Matt Morris, who has spun already. That kind of shows how much these guys have been struggling so far, probably with a few incidents. By the way, Bartonian up into Bartonian up into 10th place now, up 9 places from his start. I swear he was down in like 15th a few laps ago, but he's up into 10th. So apologies to Mario that we haven't seen any of that. But he's only 5 seconds off the lead. It's surprising how close all these drivers are. At the moment, we've got the top 17 separated by 10 seconds. And we're moving on to lap 9 of the race. It's really is a very close pack, I think.
Yeah, all the cars very, very equally matched. You know, with the change that iRacing brought in with the last round of build updates partway through, that all the setups were revised, and as a result of that, race stewards did allow the option for all drivers to go back, retest all those setups and make adjustments to car selection moving forward. Everyone now locked in for the remainder of the championship. We have seen a lot of guys transition over to that Porsche, which is very, very good on its tyres. I had a run in it earlier in the course of the week, and around Daytona it worked very, very nicely in the opening laps, but you could feel the tyres starting to go away as you pushed a little bit harder. So tyre management, we're seeing it from all the guys now. The tyre management is a very, very key thing. Turning our attention back to the front, Josh Thomas starting to close back in on Ross Rizzo. Lee Vandenberg, who we did see leading the race just a few laps ago, dropped back into that 5th position, just starting to save a little time. And Craig Edwards, I'm surprised, hasn't made a lot of inroads into this top 5, and just hanging off the back in 6th there.
Joshua Thomas with a stop and hold penalty. We just saw popping up on our screens for passing before the green flag. Very much clearly something that was probably discussed during the driver's briefing, and so fact that he's breached that yields quite a big penalty. Joshua Thomas, the championship leader, remember. He should have been going into this round with a huge championship lead until he got a stop and until he got a post-race penalty at Suzuka, which demotes him from first down to probably about 10th place. So he could have been going into this round with a big lead. Instead, it's a very small lead, and now it's going to be a very tricky comeback for him. A safety car he desperately needs right now. It is possible. If anything, odds on that we will get a safety car. If Joe has to take back to the pits, we will get a safety car or a virtual safety car. But well, keep an eye out on where he comes back out. But it's going to be a while for Joshua Thomas. Unfortunately, is he still stationary? He is still stationary. It's going to be about a 30-second stop at the moment. Are the drivers allowed to take fuel during a stop and hold penalty, Daniel, or is that against the rules?
Look, I'll actually have to double check because I know there was some talk that rule was going to be changed and drivers were ultimately going to have to come down the lane, complete the penalty. Then if a stop did ensue, they'd have to come back through and do it again. So I'll double check that through the rulebook. I'm just flipping through that now, but I'll let you know momentarily, Sam.
Have you got that rulebook in physical form? Have you got that in paper?
Indeed, I do.
Lovely. Yeah, you just like Adam Hedgecock and his notebook, going to the old-fashioned ways. But no, thank you for trying to spot that. By the way, if you want to listen to some Adam Hedgecock, me and him are commentating on the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Once again, GT cars later on. So during the evening for Europeans, and then guess in the very early hours of the morning for you Australians, and kind of middle of the afternoon for Americans. So certainly do tune in on that one. That will be on the Esports Network and on Apex Racing TV. The penultimate round of the championship coming from Okayama. Whiting with a tap. That sent Nicholson once again off. He had an issue earlier on, I think, actually. Whiting's going to address that straight away. Doesn't want to get a penalty, and that's good to see. Just went a bit too deep into turn one.
Yeah, and just getting back quickly to our penalty, I've just found it here in the rulebook, section 5 to number 1. Stop and hold drive-through penalty. You will not be able to perform any sort of service on the car at all. So if you do stop or make that a pit stop during that penalty period where you may have a drive-through, for instance, you do have to come back through and circulate it through again. So yeah, race control will definitely be keeping an eye on that one for sure.
Well, Joshua Thomas was stationary then for 52 seconds.
That will definitely need to be a run back through the lane again.
29. My bad. Scott Neitz has just corrected me there. Still, 29 is a very odd. That's very odd because that's not 30 seconds. So maybe he has taken something. I might have a look back in that one actually in a little while. Although it's difficult to tell, to be honest, because iRacing still haven't got animated pit crews. Please make that happen. We'd very much appreciate it. This is getting quite close now for third place. Don't cost each other too much time, guys, because the top two have a little bit of a break now. Rizzo should stay in third. He does. Oh no, he's gone wide. He's gone wide as Rizzo. Is there going to be contact? I think there may have been. Maybe if it was a bit of netcode. Certainly unsettled was the Trick Esports car, and from pole position he's down to fifth now. It's Ross Rizzo, and look at that move as well from Edwards trying to get past Berg. I think it was just a look, if anything. Gap up to 0.8 of a second now to Haber and Ryder. Which is almost breaking the draft. I think the draft kicks in at maybe about, I think it's only about 0.8 of a second as far as I'm aware. So they really couldn't afford to lose each other any more time. But yeah, back down to half a second now. So they should be all right.
Yeah, and with that move that we saw for Rizzo ultimately dropping back a couple of positions, he's now got to contend with Hugh Barter, Tim Phoeben, Eddie Bruswick as well, now getting involved in this fight. So what was effectively a 6-car train prior to seeing Michael drop through the lane for his stop is now growing back out to an 8-car train as well. So the top 8 really starting to condense. And Craig Edwards, who we were only saying a few laps ago was starting to fall off the back in 6th position, now gets himself up into 4th. So the Porsche starting to come along very nicely for him and Fusion Sim Racing.
Yeah, all of a sudden looks like one of the fastest drivers out there. Well, it's fantastic to see a proper 8-car battle for the lead. We often hope for this situation when we've got so many drivers in the mix. Hopefully we have this for the entire 90 minutes. But it's just a testament to how competitive this series is. Remember, Edwards and Haber were, and Thomas as well, of course, Thomas with the penalty now, have all kind of dominated their own rounds so far this season. Usually have a bit of a pace advantage, but what the draft does, it evens out everyone. It makes this much more of a racecraft race rather than an absolute pace matter. And that's fantastic to see. It feels a 45-minute race. I think this might be getting a little bit tighter right now, but they've got time to just figure it out. But you can see, I mean, it could be a 12-car train soon because Bart's and Ian, he has been very quick as Bart's and Ian, up 10 places. He's got past Trent Thomas, I think, in recent laps. He's only 1.4 seconds behind, and on that last lap, well, he pretty much matched the drivers ahead, to be fair. That last time round did Bart's and Ian, got down to 1.3 seconds now. But so I think he'll be on his way pretty soon as well. There are the personal best. That's maybe a bit of an advantage there for Bart's and Ian on that last tour compared to the front runners, all in the 43s. We saw the pole times or the qualifying times in the mid 42s earlier on, and it's already dark, as you can see, so not much of a change in terms of track temperature. These times should stay pretty constant throughout this 90-minute race. May the 15th, as always, the default iRacing time. And yeah, 9:45 in the evening at the moment. It's one of the best circuits to race at night. Undoubtedly this in all of iRacing. Berg is very close to Haber. Has there been a change? Berg looks as though he is ahead. Got to get it stopped. ABS, that BMW very drivable car. Very easy to drive. Gets it stopped. It's ahead of Haber now is Berg. Edwards will be next potentially to get past, but this is all just kind of preparing at the moment, almost just making sure that you keep your pawns until a later race, and then at the end, make sure that your king's still alive. That's a terrible chess analogy, but I had to go somewhere with it, and that's what they're trying to do at the moment. I think the reason why I thought that, I think I saw a random video on chess yesterday, as you do. But yeah, this is at the moment forming up very similar at the moment. Bart's at 3 tenths of a second behind on Edwards. You can see Thomas actually getting back past Bart's and Ian for 9th place. They're now 2 seconds behind. We're expecting the first pit stops. Probably around the 40-minute mark, perhaps. What are we thinking, actually? Is it 50% fuel that they start with, Daniel? Apologies, 100 for endurance for these drivers. So they should be able to go about an hour, but then at the same time, you kind of want to half and half the tyres. You kind of want to have a special tyres for the entire event, so hitting on the 45-minute mark can be a good option. Side by side for the lead. Berg, he's probably going for this now, the pro driver. However, he's been a bit mugged there, got escorted to the outside of the circuit, and Haber moves back up into 2nd place. And down the inside now for Edwards. He's looking quietly confident at the moment, is Edwards, in his Porsche, but he hasn't got that move done. And he stays behind for, apologies, that was Bartzer now actually moving up into 4th place. Goes Bartzer past Edwards. It's so difficult to call. Rizzo still in state, remember he started from pole. Beeben and Beswick and Thomas. Apologies, Beeben and Beswick, who had to catch back up earlier on. We've also got Chris Keeping right now. Batsman with clean boost sync. 23 seconds off the lead are these drivers, lapping on average about 1.6 seconds a lap slower. And they are now in 19th and 20th, keeping, I believe, the only amateur driver out there alongside Christopher Hughes, the red representing an amateur driver, the purple the elites, the green which is the pros, and the amber which is the amateur drivers. However, with such a competitive series, really anyone has a chance at getting wins and getting podiums as well. Still, the closest battles going out there are the leads. However, it's got this 4-card train at the moment, 5-card train if anything, with Hupperts in 32nd place. What has happened to Hupperts? He must have had a crash at the start. He has actually come into the pits as Hupperts. Remember, was on course for winning the championship last season. Some changes actually out in the front we might have to quickly change. Not quite sure. There were some highlights at the front. But Hupperts, who nearly won last season, was runner-up in the end to Timothy Phoeben. Was unlucky not to win it at Bellar, had a disconnect in the last round of the championship, which perhaps denied him the title, although it would have been pretty close regardless. Hasn't quite been the season he would have hoped for this season. He's in 32nd place. Another driver who'd really like a safety car to bunch everyone up. Seeing that he's already got one of his pit stops done as well, it would be massively advantageous for him. Phoeben and Thomas, I think just being overtaken by Beswick for a moment there. Here they are. Let's pick up into 7th place. Further up, I don't think there's been any changes since the last time that we tuned in. However, we're going through the bus stop and then onto the pit straight, which is where we tend to see the moves being made. We've got just over an hour of this race to go. I wonder if we get an onboard actually with Beswick. Could be a pretty good view of what's going to happen further up on the road. Here we are. And of course, everyone kind of being neutralised at the moment, a little bit like the DRS chain we sometimes see in the MP4-30 back in the World Championship days on iRacing. And Beswick's closing in gradually. Rizzo in 6th place. This is as low as Rizzo's been since starting right at the front. Beswick not quite there. And then you have this off-camber turn one, so tricky, and the understeer really does ravel onto the car, sliding out almost off the circuit. And there goes Beswick. Oh, I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but that was absolutely out of nowhere. And good awareness there from Rizzo to open up the steering and give him that place. But I'm really not sure if that was deliberate from the Porsche. But there it was. We've got the move done, which is probably the important thing. And now Haber 0.5 of a second behind Vaughan Ryder, who's led much of apologies, Kane Ryder has led much of this race, punching the hole in the air for everyone else to dip into. So he's going to have to come into the pits earlier probably, but that might not necessarily be the worst thing in the world. Thomas, by the way, still 1.7 seconds behind Timothy Phoeben. I'll say that, drops down to 1.3 seconds. You can check out the live timing, which will have all the intervals between the drivers, the gap as well to the race leader as well, which is quite useful when it comes to the pit stops and when they pitted, the length of their pit stop, which will give you an eye into whether or not they took tyres at their last pit stop. And all of that information is available in the live timing link in the description below, provided by SDK Gaming, as is the overlay that you are seeing with these fantastic graphics. Pretty much these graphics you can get as standard from SDK. And you do recommend checking out their products if you are planning on doing any streaming or planning to do any broadcasting just like this. Go to sdk.co.uk. Haber wasn't close enough for the move on Ryder if he wanted to go for the move anyway. As we got clean boosting, he's had a tough run with that alternative New Zealand flag. Certainly is my favourite alternative flag in the world. And that was, well, a bump and run and a double as well if you missed it the first time. And it's crazy, he does slow down. However, think the amount of damage he's probably put on Team V-Saint's car may warrant a drive the penalty anyway. Stewards will have a look at that one. Haven't seen any penalties for a little while, in fact, from the stewards. And Crater with that second hit, absolutely no choice as the Ford came sliding across in his path. Got damage on that car. They do get a fast repair. They got, might even get 2 fast repairs in these endurance races. No, it is just the 1 fast repair. They also get drive-through penalties as well for every 20 incidents you pick up. Shouldn't be too much of an issue around this circuit. It should be the bus stop, which you've just seen go through, where potentially you could get a an off track by just cutting the grass ever so slightly. It's really the one danger point on this circuit. It's not like a few others that we visit, like Spa and Circuit of the Americas. But still something for the drivers to keep an eye on. Half an hour into this race, less than an hour to go. Might see some drivers come into the pits already. They want to go for an undercut by putting some new tyres on, might yield a little bit more time, although of course that will largely be offset by the fact that you'll have a lot more fuel in the car. Here's a move for Morris, getting past Burgess. I wonder what could have happened for Matt Morris. He started up in 9th place for this race. He feels as though he could well have been right up there. Post-race penalty for Crater. He redressed the 15-second. You redressed the position, but you will still get a 15-second post-race penalty. So thanks for the stewards for letting us know about that. We don't usually see post-race penalties at this point, but I think it's appropriate. There would normally be a stop and hold, but as we saw, redressing does make that penalty quite a bit smaller than it otherwise would have been. Born Rider, not Kane Rider, in 26th place. Over a minute behind the leaders now. These drivers, they have pitted though for repairs after the mess that we saw in the opening few laps. Rider pitted on lap 3 of this race. Should be able to get to the end of the race just with 1 more stop, I believe. I don't believe there's any rules against that. Which will bring him right back into play, maybe for a top 20 by the end of the race. But in terms of a high up position, I think that's going to happen for him. Edwards and Beswick. Let me know how to pronounce that name. Beswick? I'm not sure. Eddie, battling with Edwards. He did momentarily get ahead of Edwards. And actually a gap now for him behind Beswick to Berg. By the way, Carl Dawson, lap 18, he's towed without permission. And that's a disqualification from the race. You've got to let the stewards know. It's really important for them to deploy the safety cars that they know when a driver is about to tow. And Dawson getting disqualified from the race. No more of Kyle in this 90 minutes event. Shame for him. But yeah, like I said, a gap now forming. Berg 1.7 seconds behind Beswick. I don't know how that... Well, he lost 2 seconds on that last lap, along with Beaven. I can only imagine they were pointlessly fighting, unless they both just made individual mistakes. And there's now 2 trains in this race, and both got to pay his absolute all into trying to catch back up. Ryder out in leads has been setting a phenomenal pace. Mid-43s has been mega consistent. And that's really allowed these top guys to pull away. But you can see from the gaps, Rizzo's down into 13th place. I wonder if something's happened to all those drivers, because Berg, Beeben and Rizzo all having terrible last laps of the race. And I wonder if there's been a little bit of a coming together between the lots of them. It's caused them to fall down the order, but Rizzo pole sitter by a comfortable margin down into 13th place now. And only hope that safety car or some strategy brings him back into play. There he is behind the amateur drivers of Nicholson, McHugh and Chris, just outside the top 10.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate for Ross here at the moment. Like, the Ford has seemed to have sort of lost quite a lot of pace for him. A little bit of action from race control there, no issue between both himself and Trent. a little bit of net code there, so that isn't going to impact him too much. But really surprised to see from our effective race leader and pole man at the start of this race, the Ford really not being able to hold its own at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like there was some netcode contact then between him and Trent Thomas, which is why they dropped back. I might just look back in the replay in a little moment to see what exactly happened with those guys. But it's made quite a big change in this race. But now he's really got to deliver on that pace. He's still within 10 seconds of the lead, which is no mean feat over half an hour into the event. As we see Silvassi running in 25th. These guys just about a minute off the lead. Aha, I think Scott Newton-Mayer found this one. Congrats well done to Scott Newton. He's done well to find this bit because it happened a few laps ago. Oh, Rizzo glitched out, didn't he? And Thomas having no idea where to go. And that is how this lead pack kind of split into two.
Yeah, for Rizzo there, he was lucky to get that car around, but it's not the first time in this championship we've seen Rizzo with some net issues. That being said, I just had them myself. So it's something that the guys do have to compete with, and for Rizzo, he was lucky to rotate that car around. Doesn't look like any major issues have sort of impacted the car as far as from a performance standpoint, but positionally, yeah, well out there. But for race control, that's a bit of an easy one for them. We did see too, just in the chat as well, Sam, some corrections on Beswick's name, so they are going with yes, Beswick for him there. So that's a nice one to put to rest, and hopefully we don't make a meal of that further on tonight.
I think I was getting confused because in the UK, if that was a town, we would call it just Berwick, I think. I think we have. Is it Cheswick? Cheswick, I think we have, which is Cheswick. Hence my confusion. But thank you to the chats too. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that username. But thank you for the correction. To be fair, I think you said that all the time, Daniel. To be fair, Beswick. So I should just copy you.
Oh, look, I wouldn't always do that. I have a pretty good habit of making a meal of everyone else's name traditionally. Probably most notably over the season, Adrian Vlock, and I don't know, somehow managed to pronounce it as Volk. Very weird there. So that one's one of my mistakes. I wouldn't follow me at all. Craig Edwards, by the way, dropping into the lane for his stop, as we see Hugh Barter for the Evolution Racing team getting a move done on Eddie there, and now promotes himself up into the third position. Harley Haver just in front of him.
Almost a move midway through there. Look at the gap now to Thomas. 6 seconds. 6 seconds to Thomas. Has it just been some poor laps for him? No, he matched on the last lap. He lost so much time for a few laps in a row, and they're absolutely miles off now, all that pack. So now a 4-car chain after looking like we might even have a 12-car chain before, but yeah, quite a big gap now. Right there, Edwards into the pits. Comes back out in 18th place. He's one of the first front runners to come into the pit. We have got Vlock and Thomas ahead of him. However, Vlock came in on the first lap of the race, and Thomas had to serve a stop and hold penalty, obviously. So that is why they're ahead. But Edwards now leader of the drivers who have come into the pits. Phoeben actually only just behind. Phoeben pitted 1 lap ago. So these guys going for the earliest stop. Did they come in for tyres as well? 33.8 second station. I guess, is that tyres, you think, Daniel? Because if they start on full fuel, then you don't actually need to put a whole lot of fuel in the car, do you? Because you've only got another half an hour to go, so you don't actually want to put a whole lot of fuel in this first stop. Do you think they've taken tyres?
No, I would expect that we're seeing the guys taking. Oh, no, I think that would have to be tyres at this point. I mean, tyres, unlike what we see in the V8 Supercar for AOSC, for instance, where you can do the tyres and fuel at the same time, the GT cars, it is one then the other. So for these guys, potentially, I would say it's purely tyres, although you'd almost be considered to want to put fuel in. You obviously do have to come back in later on to get that one more stop. But tyres probably at this point is when you want to be considering it. I'd be surprised if the guy's actually using the fuel now. I'd be trying to get as much as you could out of the car, low fuel with really good rubber under it, to try and minimise those gaps, then throw that little bit in at the back end of the race.
I just looked back on the replay, and at least for Phoeben, he did take tyres. Probably not a whole lot of fuel though. I think he only took about 6 seconds worth of fuel. Basically, to illustrate my points more for the viewers, because I don't think I made it very clear, but the drivers will start with an hour of fuel anyway. So you've got 2 stops where you got to put 30 minutes of fuel in. It's only about half a tank, so you probably only need, on average, about 8 seconds of fuel at each stop. So the fuel will take much shorter than the tyres, and then right at the end will just be kind of like a splash and dash. But of course, you want to be running with as little fuel as possible for most of the race. Hugh Barter passed Ryder. I think that's the first time we've seen Barter take the lead. He started in 14th place with Barter, but of course got up to the well, he was in that chasing pack, wasn't he, and the outskirts of the top 10 in the early stage, and then has been in that second place for a little while. I wonder if that's a sign that he's going to be coming into the pits quite soon. The fact that he's just gone for that move after spending most of the race. Quite happy to take the tow from the Max Boost racing car.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's actually. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs a little bit longer here. He's already been able to extend a little bit of a lead over Kane Ryder there following that move. So he's in a very good position. The sector times for him at the moment, he's just gone green the last 2 times by, so personal bests for him. See what he does working through the final section of the lap. But the pace very, very good in that ERT car at the moment. Kane Ryder's starting to close back up a little bit. The BMW does have that straight line advantage. I'm really surprised to see Harley Haber has fallen off immensely down in 4th position. I wonder if he's now carrying a little bit of damage or has maybe had some contact with the wall, because the gap to the leaders from himself now, 4.5 seconds, and dropping massively at the moment. And he was fighting for the lead not that long ago.
Well, he just had an awful lap. He lost 5 seconds on the last lap. You know what? Front 3 just set a 43.08. That is remarkable. It's just changed now. But on the previous lap, they set a 43.08 all of them, which is something I don't think I've ever seen 3 consecutive cars set identical lap times like that. That is remarkable. Crater, stop and hold for causing collision. Not see him. There was contact.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see whether or not there's a penalty that comes Hugh Barter's way for that little bit of contact. You see him run very wide up onto the dirt. That wouldn't have compromised the braking performance of that car, but for Harley Haber trying to get around the outside, a little bit of a check up on the inside. I think race control from the incidents we've seen previously will give that to Barter. They'll probably rule in his favour there. Probably going to be a little bit disappointing for Haber, who was really in contention and had driven a fantastic race up until that point. But for him now, a lot of work to do to get back up to it.
So Bart's back down into 3rd now, so he's lost that lead. Oh, look at this! Bezic! Oh, that was on the outside at the bus stop. Wow, that was very brave there from Bezic, and he's passed Ryder. All of a sudden, these guys from very polite have turned into absolute savages. They're all going for the lead whenever they can. Let's see if Ryder comes back. The thing is, if Ryder doesn't go for it, then into the pits. In fact, goes Ryder. Remember, he's been leading for much of this race and having to come into the pits. It is a very high fuel consumption circuit. Let's remember, it really is a very high fuel consumption. So I guess an hour was a bit optimistic earlier on, probably more like 50 minutes. Although, to be fair, we've seen quite a few drivers in the pits. Maybe he can only go 45 minutes. around the throttle for a lot of this lap. But yeah, normally around standard circuits, you would be able to get 55, 60 minutes, but maybe this is a little bit shorter. Let's see how long Bezic and Bartzer can go now, seeing that they've had a tow this entire stint.
Yeah, they're still pushing on very hard. Haber starting to come back at them a little bit now following that issue we saw on the replay there, getting rotated around. So the gap down to 3.5 seconds. But for the two out front, for Bezic and Barter, they're still getting quite racy. Bezic a little bit better maybe off the exit onto the speedway turn there. But for Barter now, just going to be able to hold the line, utilise that draft, maybe save that fraction of fuel that he needs, if he needs any at all. But he's going to have to keep an eye on Ryder there, because obviously Kane came down the lap last time by for the pits, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of these two drivers, if not both, maybe looking to cover that move off.
Where did Ryder come out?
Came out in the 15th position there, so behind Vandenberg and tyres as well that he's taken. And
that's I'm surprised by that. He's now 4.5 seconds behind Edwards, and Edwards had a longer pit stop apparently. So I don't know if it's just been a case of Edwards Edwards has set some good times so far, low 42 on that last lap. He's been as low in the 41, so I guess those fresh tyres just helping out. But yeah, Ryder from the lead, on track now at least. I think he's going to be down to 5th or 6th when all this is sorted out. But he will have fresher tyres than Edwards to the end of the race, so we'll have that ammunition to come back. So the orders will be messed up. We're only half an hour, halfway through this race. Certainly do stay tuned for the rest of it, because it's going to get very, very close towards the end. Vandenberg looking like a bit of a sitting target there or sitting duck, apologies, for Ryder. Joshua Thomas stationary for his first proper pit stop, and Jeremy Clark as well. But the top two stayed out that time round, being able to extend this first stint a bit longer. I wonder actually if maybe the fuel does go 50 minutes, but perhaps a few of these guys just trying to exactly half this race for the tyres. As you were saying before the broadcast even started, Daniel, in terms of the fastest theoretical way to the line is to hit on halfway, so you get the freshest tyres to the end of the race. But these top two are trying something a little bit different, go as fast as they can off fuel, and will have fresher tyres towards the end. But this part of the race, they're going to be struggling a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's very a double-edged sword how you want to play this. I mean, we did get a little bit of word through from one of the drivers early on, stating that from their understanding of it, the best way forward would be split the race in half as far as your tyre strategy is concerned, and run it from there. Unfortunately, they're maybe a little further down the order than ideally where they'd like to be. For the guys up front and the likes of Kubata and Eddie Buswick, they've been able to really serve the tyres. They've conserved the fuel. They've been able to utilise the draft to their full advantage and get themselves up there. So they're really in the prime position now to start putting those laps in on those tyres. And as you saw a few laps ago, we saw everyone drop into the 42s, pushing on. So they've probably got a little bit left in the tank, and we'll see them maybe go 4 or 5 more laps, I dare say. Knowing that, they'll now probably make a complete meal of what I've just said. But I reckon 4 or 5 laps, come in, get your stop done. I don't think they're going to want to try and do back-to-back stops. I mean, we did see that at Silverstone a few seasons ago, and it didn't work out at all. I don't think you could try and get away with it now.
I don't think I saw that one. So did the drivers come into the pits and then come into the pits the very next lap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So it was a short stop. It was a 90-minute enduro, same as this a few seasons ago back at Silverstone. I think from memory it was one of the Mark 1 cars, might have been Lee Vandenberg at the time. Came down the lane from, I think, second position, jumped in, got the short stop done and underway. Next lap came through, did the longer stop, and in doing so actually fell a long way down the order and wasn't able to maximise it and get back up. So I don't think we'll see it tonight. There are guys that are going to want to try it. Whether or not it's the right move, I don't think it is at this point, looking at how tightly it is being contested at the front of the field. But certainly, for the guys that want to throw the wrench in the works and see what they can come up with, why not? As Kubata now back out the front and 4/10 clear again, but that 4/10 around here doesn't mean much at this point in time. Last lap, however, that's a completely different story.
On this, 42.8 on that lap for Butter. I mean, they've been as low as the 42.3s on the previous lap, so quite keeping it at that. Look at that, 42.2. It's really quick. That's only 1/10. That's less than 1/10 of a second slower than their best lap, which is impressive considering that they're on old tyres. And of course, this the most recent changes to the GTE cars with the tyre updates means that the tyres do go off a little bit quicker. I think we saw that for just before Le Mans, which brings a bit more strategy into it. So these tyres will be past their prime, but it's not a huge drop off. At least for these drivers. Huggin into the pits. Haven't seen much of Tom Huggin actually. Amateur champion from last season, of course now a pro driver. And he hasn't had a fantastic race. In fact, I'm seeing that as Huggin's second pit stop. Maybe he came into the pits within the first 3 laps. He might be able to go to the end of the race, Huggin, actually, from there. So he might get some decent result from that. Brady McHugh in 21st place. He's all over the back of Chris Pellet. On the most part, the battle's starting to kind of spread out a bit now. But it will kind of get closer by the end of the race as drivers make their pit stops. Haber into the pits. I just wonder, maybe, is that as far as you can go on fuel? Because Haber had a tow for much of the stint, but then lacked the tow near the end. I just wonder, maybe that's a sign that the top 2 will now come into the pits. Because Haber, I imagine, has drained that fuel right to the bottom. So watch out for Barton Beswick on this lap. Let's see where Haber comes out of the pits, actually. I assume he's going to be... he'll probably be behind Ryder, Theben, Rizzo and Vandenberg. I can only imagine. Which is kind of the leading train. Craig Edwards just a few seconds ahead of them as well. And here comes that train. Edwards, the effective race leader, we believe, although a number of asterisks right by that, or asterisks behind that. Where is Haber? He's still stationary as Haber. It's a longer pit stop for him. 36 seconds stationary. It's a slightly longer pit stop. Apologies, 43 seconds stationary. So that's basically him done in terms of fuel. I mean, he will need to put pretty much no fuel into that car for the second stop, and I wonder if he'll do that double stop type thing that you're saying, Daniel, where he comes in on this next lap, because he can come in whenever he likes pretty much now, because that will pretty much be a 1 second stop, I imagine, when he comes back in again, because that was a much longer stop than we've seen from the others.
Yeah, it's a fair bit longer than what we've seen from most competitors so far through the course of the race. So I wouldn't mind betting, same as you're saying there, Sam, it'll be a quick stop. Just stop it in the box, get back underway. Nothing additional required at that point. So keep an eye on that. Hugh Barter, likewise, also in the lane for his stop as well. That'll leave Eddie Beswick to continue on out front. Craig Edwards, as you said, still actually... Adrian Vlock looks to have promoted himself up to provisional lead at this point. If I'm reading the charts correctly, he's already had a short 3-second stop, so not the long full service that we will need to see, but currently got his Ford out in front of the field effective race leader once Eddie comes through the lane.
Oh, no. Well, he's coming to the pits now. Well done, Daniel. He did pit on the first lap of the race, but I think that does count as a pit stop. So it's not that bad for a vlog. It's quite nice, that feature from this series, that you can kind of pit so early on and still come back. Ryder, I think that's just defending against Bevan. These two have been pretty close. Remember, Ryder came out behind Vandenberg. Ryder was the race leader for much of this race, but didn't save a whole lot of fuel because he was punching a hole for everyone else. They've now got 4 seconds up to Edwards, who is setting some very good lap times. Is Edwards? He's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment. Actually, does Edwards? Fusion Sim Racing. But so he's possibly the favourite at the moment. Where did the former second place man
actually
come out of the pits?
I was just going to mention that Hugh Barter, with a great time in the lane, actually managed to maintain second position. So 24.9 stationary time has put him at the front of this train. Actually, he's got Craig Edwards closing in behind him there, as Eddie Bestwick's already dropped in for his now stop as well. But for Hugh, I'd be interested to see whether that car actually jumped up on the jacks and where there was a tyre change, because potentially that's only fuel at this point.
I think he's probably only taken tyres, I imagine. He's literally taken no fuel. Will he come into the pits on this lap as well? I'll look back on the previous lap, see if he did actually take tyre, take fuel at all. Because it was a very quick stop.
Yeah, and here comes Eddie Bestwick back out on the lane. Actually stays ahead there of Hugh Barter as well. So very similar stops for both of those two cars. And Bestwick now finds himself with a lap car in between himself and Hugh Barter. Very surprised to see that additional lap has paid such a big dividend for him there. 2.5 seconds gained.
Okay, so Beswick didn't take tyres. He did just take fuel. So you're right, Daniel. The first time, at least. He didn't take any tyres. So he will have to take tyres later on. That's an interesting stretch. We haven't seen too many drivers go for that one.
No, I think that's a good move though. Like, he's obviously got track advantage right now. The pace is very consistent in that Mark 1 car. He's got himself a nice bit of a gap over Hugh Barter as well, and continuing to sort of stay around that 2.6 second range. So he's set himself up pretty good here, and throw on fresh tyres at the back end of this race. It's going to be absolutely lightning in that Porsche.
So both Beswick and Barter both didn't take tyres. Both just took fuel. Unlike the others, he did take tyres.
It's interesting strategies from all these guys, though.
Yeah, it's good to see some variance. Everyone should have a similar length pit stop, I think, to finish the race, because it seems as though tyres take 27 seconds to do, and it seems like to get to the end you need 27 seconds worth of fuel. So everyone should be very even for their last stint. However, the drivers who have got to take tyres should be faster at the end of the race. It's separated now out in the top 10. Really, who's got a chance at winning this race? I'm hesitant. Well, Haber could still win this race. I mean, Haber's running in sixth at the moment. I think anyone in the top 6 have still got a chance at the moment. I think Haber is probably the dark horse out of them, because his pit stop's going to be by far the shortest later on.
Yeah, well, actually, I think there's two drivers here. We're watching them on screen that are actually in with a really good shot at the moment. Both Ross Rizzo and Kane Ryder. Both are the first drivers in the top 20 that have completed both their stops as well. So they are looking very, very handy at this point in time. So continue to keep an eye on them. There is also a slow car exiting the first hairpin as well. So potentially we could get a safety car as a result of that. So keep an eye on that. That's the 37th position. Jordan Cullis, I believe, stationary at this moment.
Looks as though he's going to try to get back underway. He is based, so I think he's just letting everyone go. Doesn't want to interfere with anyone's passing, although there goes Block. Yeah, he's back on the throttle. I don't know if we want a safety car, to be honest, right now, because it'd be quite interesting to see whose strategy works best. I think if there was a safety car... Oh dear, well, Cullis was so slow. Oh dearie me, that was a huge impact involving 3 cars. The 339 was involved as well.
So an easy pass there, and then the right sim racing car, nowhere to go down the inside, and well, actually maintaining the standard line there and involved in that. That's very, very odd. Chris Pallett now in the lane. I think that was the Porsche there we saw getting cleaned up in that incident before, so he's come through. Similarly, Brad McHugh as well for their secondary stops tonight as well. Up front, the lead's still extending for Beswick as well, out to 3 seconds now.
Yeah, he's saying some good times. Especially this is one of our first indications who's actually the fastest driver out there, because everyone's been in the draft the whole time. It's very difficult to tell. Now they can really kind of show what they're made of. That was a move for Chrisdale. Just going past Christopher Hughes. I don't know why I called him Mark Hughes. I think I used to have a teacher called Mr. Hughes. Very angry man. Very angry man. But I don't think this Christopher Hughes is quite as angry. As by the way, Christopher Hughes 6, the 6th Christopher Hughes. So a very popular name. I think there's something like I think there's 31 John Smith out there. Quite interesting to go for the most common name on all of iRacing, and yeah, there are some really common names, but 6 is quite a bit as well, and there's probably several others as well. Anyway, Matt Morris is into the pits for his second stop. Is he going to be anywhere near Rizzo and Ryder? No, I think he's going to be a while off his Morris, to be honest. He's still stationary, and Rizzo and Ryder sweep on by. I think Morris actually got spun in the early stages after good qualifying for Morris. Had a poor start to the race, but he has actually come out in 15th place behind alongside Bartolini, ahead of Bartolini. That's good news for him. Bartolini with his 2 pit stops done as well. So that is probably going to be for, I think, 9th or 10th place, which would be a good recovery for the Velocity Motorsports Magazine racing driver. Just about fits on our overlay. The 966, yeah, on course for a top 10 at the moment, as far as I'm aware. Aha, leader in, Eddie Beswick. He couldn't have gone much further. Well, no, I say that. He could have gone to the end of the race. He could have put on the last lap with fresh tyres. His pace was good in clean air, but he's decided to come into the pits. And now it is Edwards who's out in the lead with older tyres, but with plenty of fuel. He should be able to go. I know, he might be able to go until about 5 laps to the end, I imagine. Edwards got absolutely put his foot down. It's going to be qualifying lap after qualifying lap now for him to try to build that gap, so that when he does come into the pits with a few laps to go, he can stay ahead of his rivals.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just keeping an eye too on where Beswick is in the lane. He's still stationary. Rizzo and Ryder starting to come up to now cross the start-finish line as well. So for Barty, he might actually maintain this little bit of an advantage. We'll see him just pull into shot now, and actually that's going to work in both their favours. Oh, was that someone collecting the barrier? That's Lee Vandenberg.
Oh, is he stuck in the tyres? This could be a safety car. I don't know if he's stuck in the tyres or whether he's just hesitant to pull away, because the tyres around this place do kind of grab you in. There is a gap coming up, I think, now.
And we're going to have virtual safety car. I've just heard over race control as well. So is this a curse of cold tyres on the exit of the Daytona pit lane? Although you could see...
Oh, no. Blindsided.
That was Hubardo going through the car. So through the pit lane, obviously you can do that, but come back into racing line. Oh, that's very weird.
Just could not... Yeah, just must have been blindsided. So the virtual safety car out, and Edwards can get a free pit stop here. It depends when the pit when it ends. Depends when it ends. But unless it ends in the next 10 seconds, Craig Edwards may well get an easy race victory here, because he will be able to make his pit stop now and pretty much lose no time, because they won't be speeding past. Any sign of
Well, I was going to say, just in relation to that, so Harley Haber now exiting turn 5
Oh, we are so we are getting back going again. But Edwards is into the pits. This is what hasn't worked out for Haber. And now we are back underway. But Edwards has gained a lot of an advantage there. A lot of an advantage. And I think when he comes out of the pits, he should have a comfortable lead. Haber's come into the pits, but it's too late for Haber. He was just in the wrong part of the track. And Theben, he managed to jump Bezic and Bartzer in the pit stops. I think this isn't going to work out for them, and Edwards could well be on for an easy race victory from here, because I think he's probably gained about 10 seconds thanks to that virtual safety car.
Yeah, Craig Edwards back underway now behind Trent Thomas. Harley Haber still stationary for his pit stop as well. So that's all started to shake out. Craig Edwards should retain this lead of the race.
Not. Oh, no, sorry, yes, apologies.
So yeah, Craig Edwards should retain it once Trent Thomas and both Michael Healy come through for their respective stops as well. So currently Trick Esports leading the way with one stop still to go for both of those two drivers. Edwards the first of our drivers to complete those two stops. Julian Klimbasink in a fierce battle here. Matt Morris just getting through. Mario Vitrin also going through. Klimbasink now just able to get back ahead. So 4 or 5 cars having a very solid little fight here as they work their way down to the Southern Horseshoe.
If anyone in the chat spotted anyone else who's kind of benefited from this safety car, let us know, or this virtual safety car. I mean, Edwards was, I don't know, I always find it a little bit annoying when people complain in Formula 1 when people say that a driver's got lucky because of a virtual safety car. I mean, that's part of the strategy. You're always prepared for a virtual safety car, and you kind of, before the race even starts, you're probably thinking, well, if a virtual safety car does come out at this point, then this will work. And in the end, Edwards was on the right strategy for the virtual safety car. He managed to get himself ready for that situation. And I mean, he's now got an 11-second lead over Theben. If we get a safety car here, then that would probably open this run up again. But at the minute, Edwards well on course for an easy race win from here. Theben having to defend from Bartzer, but Bartzer is past, or is he? Porsche versus Porsche going into the hairpin. Remember, Theben started decently far down the order, started down in 12th place. Beswick, to be fair, started pretty far down as well in 11th, but Theben is now behind Bartzer. Bartzer started in 14th. So all started outside the top 10, Bartzer up into 5th place, which will turn into effective 2nd place later on, we believe. Haber about 2 seconds behind these guys. He's on his way to catching up as well.
But for Harley Haber too, the advantage now is he's got those fresh tyres, so he's going to be very competitive as the laps unwind. That being said, only fractionally slower than Hugh Barter last time by through Sector 3.
I don't think Haber does have fresh tyres, however. I don't think he took tyres at his last pit stop. He took tyres on lap... whenever his first pit stop was, so I think about lap day. So he hasn't got particularly fresh tyres, at least compared to Beswick, I think. Theben might have older tyres. It's very difficult to keep up with it all. There is it. There's the pit stop sequence. Try to get your head around that one. The driver taking fuel only and tyres only, and a combination of the two. Also got, sorry.
I was going to say, looking at the stop strategies too, didn't really quite work out for Ryder and Rizzo, who we thought might have benefited quite nicely as a result of where they'd effectively come in for their stops. They're still well down the order in 10th and 11th.
Yeah, do they have fresh tyres, those two? No, I don't. No, they don't. They have older tyres, so yeah, that hasn't worked out for them. Ryder, he'll probably lead the most laps today, I think. That might be maybe Edwards might be able to beat that later on. Although too, Edwards isn't leading at the moment, so he isn't getting any of them at the moment. But that'll be quite cruel for Ryder. He was punching the hole in the air for so much of this race, and everyone's kind of benefited from that. That's why you don't want to be leading, and it's meant they've had to take more fuel at his pit stops and put himself further down the order than I'm sure he would like. Also, that contact they had earlier on through the buffer stop with Thomas wouldn't have helped either. Actually, where is Joshua Thomas at the moment? Joshua Thomas up into 22nd place now. But I think he might have another pit stop to make, Joshua Thomas. No, he has made his pit stops. Yeah, 3 pit stops. One of which was a stop-go penalty. Could have probably fought for the race win today. Thomas was running up as high as 4th place for a stop and hold penalty for passing before the green flag came out. His not brother, Trent Thomas, or his surname sharer, Trent Thomas, into the pits. Trick Esports. Where's he gonna come out? He's still stationing down in 11th place at the moment. He's quite distant from the front runners.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough night for Trent there. So he's dropping behind, actually well behind Jeremy Clark, as you can see him exiting down the lane. Hopefully we don't see a repeat of the unfortunate knock into the wall that we saw for Vandenberg there as well. So getting back underway, good to see. This battle though with Clark and Nicholson still continuing on. Nicholson going to get down the inside there, and that will see him promoted up now to 14th position.
Good drive from, Nicholson started up in 10th place, which is really impressive for an amateur driver. He's now behind Miles Burgess. He's only 2.7 seconds ahead. That's for the win in the amateur class. However, Martin Crisp is in 3rd place, and he's still got to make his next pit stop. I think, though, when Crisp comes into the pits, Burgess still needs to pit as well. Apologies. Quite a few drivers still need to come into the pits, of which Healy and Crisp. So Karen as well. He's doing well in 6th place so far. Good pace for Sean Karen. CPR rating, a thing we've seen plenty of in the AOSC Super Series. Having some good improvements actually this season as well. Season 9 of the season. You can check that out most Friday evenings for you Aussies. Unfortunately, I think it's a break week this week. Karen, though, will lose a place to Haber there. Oh dear, Karen now around, and that's the risk of staying out longer. That's one of the risks of staying out longer. You can battle with faster drivers to get overtaken by faster drivers, and that type of thing can happen. I wasn't sure if there was any contact there or not.
No, here's a quick look at the repo. Right on board with Sean, down into 1, fires it through the standard line. I think might have been just a hair of contact there. Was that Eddie Beswick, trying to go through there. So a small knock on the door. Here's Eddie's onboard shot just to see where he is in relation. It's a little bit hard not getting a look down that right-hand side of the car. Actually,
I don't think there was contact. I think it was just off camber, and he managed to drop it by himself, and maybe old tyres as well for Karen.
There was also a little bit of movement I noticed from Beswick. Just as you hit that little bump on the inside, the back moved a little bit. I was going to say too, for DPR Racing, a little bit of an updated livery for that team as well, with some new sponsorship coming on board for them. So cars looking quite clean now in the all white livery, and now got simrigs.com on board, helping them through the championship now as well. Chris keeping on screen at the moment. A little bit of a tough night for him, down in 22nd position. Still some good lap times coming out of this car. Last time a 1:42.79, so pretty good pace in the late stage of the race. He's got Josh Thomas just ahead of him, just a second up the road there in the Fishy Motorsports BMW.
Some of the front runners are coming up to Crisp now. He started in 5th place to Crisp. Very qualifying. He's really been one of the most improved drivers. I think he was a little bit incident prone last season, but I think it might just be the fact that he's qualifying a bit better now this season. He's avoiding those incidents and scoring some good points. One of the best amateur drivers we've got in the series will certainly be going for the championship. And this alternative strategy for him, serving him well. By the way, Harley Hayes just at the fastest fifth sector of anyone. Recently got past Eddie Beswick. He's storming along right now as Haber. I think frustrated. He knows that was a chance at a race win today, and that virtual safety car ruined any chance of it because he's now 12 seconds behind Craig Edwards. He looks to be getting his championship challenge right back onto track. And it's another day for Haber after making his debut for this season, at least. At Suzuka was chasing down Joshua Thompson much of the race. Didn't quite made a mistake, however, near the end of the first stint, which put him out of contention of getting the undercut. Here comes Healy into the pits. Healy should be stationary for like 1 second. I think he was one of the guys who took. Or did he not take tyres? Maybe he didn't take tyres last time. I really cannot figure it out. I think he's still got to take tyres, actually, Healy. So there you go. He's down to 7th place. He's behind all of these drivers.
Ooh, and we got a stationary car out on track.
And Haber's round now as well. He was taking no prisoners, was Harley Haber, trying to make his way up through the order. And he's now made contact, potentially with Beswick. I'm not sure who it was that he was trying to attack Beeben. Beswick was behind him, and Haber down into 7th place now, although Karen and Chris do need to pit still. What was that news on the stationary car? Have we still got a stationary car, Daniel?
No, the car, though, just giving permission to tow, that was Julian Klimbasink stationary down at the first hairpin. As we just have a look at that replay action for Haber there. So no safety car as a result of that, but for Haber, that's gonna definitely impact his run here. I think that's probably put paid to getting back up and into contention for the podium. As a result of that, he's got Sean Curran now back ahead of him.
I would love a even if it was a competition caution between these guys right now, that would be a lot of fun. I just want to see Edwards challenge, even though he deserves this race win undoubtedly. But by the way, the reason why he got that gap was because he came in under a virtual safety car, which was out for a mere 40 seconds, but for 10 of those seconds, Edwards was in the pits, or maybe 12 or 13 seconds Edwards was in the pits. He was probably the favourite to win anyway, but it would have been close, as this battle for second place probably heating up. Martin Crisp into the pits. He should be out outside the top 10 now. And it's Barter ahead of Beswick. Apologies, Barter ahead of Beeben. That was contact. Ahead of Beswick. Haber 5 seconds behind these guys, but is catching quite a bit. Is Haber might be able to catch up by the end of this race if they keep on fighting. 12 minutes to go, 12 seconds to the lead. Edwards extending his lead as these guys fight, and it's Barter at the moment with that second place. However, it's questionable whether you want to be leading a train going on to the last lap.
Yeah, look, if you're going to get the option, I think you'd want to be taking a draft around this last lap. We've seen quite a few cars in previous championships attempt it from the lead and never works well for them. So if you can have yourself a car in front, utilise that draft. And we saw it at AOC last season to conclude the race. There was a fantastic run to the line as a result of some drafting there. That's about where you want to be.
Beeben passed. Barton not biting that one. He knows that he can probably come back straight away into turn one. Beeben's connection actually just dropping in and out a bit. We've seen how that can spell disaster earlier on in the race with it was it Vandenberg? It was Ryder, apologies. Ryder, I think it was Vandenberg as well. You came together earlier on in the race, or maybe it was Trent Thomas. Lots happened in this race. Lots of chopping and changing. Been classic Daytona racing, and a lot of strategy as well for us to get our heads round. Hughes with a penalty, lap 44 incidents. That will dropping outside the top 30, I think, now for Hughes. In fact, he's already 28th, is Christopher Hughes. I think he'll probably drop behind, maybe even Cullis in 34th place when he serves that penalty.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate run for him there. Scott Gamble up on screen at the moment, down in 23rd position. Not a great night for him. Up 10 spots from where we started, but a little bit of a struggle in the BMW. He's got Nathan Huppert's for Fusion Sim Racing just ahead, but starting to come under a lot of attack from Chris Pallett now. Another one of the Fusion cars right behind him. Quite
Good
surprised
comeback
with the lap.
from so.
I was going to say, surprising with the lap times that Gamble's putting down, that he is as far back as he is, because the laps at the moment are as good or near thereabouts to what we're seeing from our race leaders at the moment.
Yeah, I can only imagine he got caught up in an instant. Huppert's good comeback from him. To be fair, Huppert's only started in 20th place, which I don't think he can be blamed completely for being involved in a lap one incident, but when you qualify down in 20th place, you're putting yourself into that territory. So he really needs to improve on his qualifying for next round, Huppert's. But it's up in 21st. Keeping doesn't need to pit. So that's for position then. That Huppert's is going to have to get that position done. In fact, he's 10 seconds behind Karan. Vlok, by the way, has just lost out to Pruden. Also, I think Healy's just got past Morris. Vlok might be able to come back now against Pruden. This could be a couple of more positions for Huppert's if they do collide. The Fordzilla livery that I've got at least, but it's actually BFG Quick Fix Computers for Adrian Vlok. Back up into 15th place. Another driver who's made good improvements for this season. He's now behind Sislowski. We haven't talked about Sislowski one time, I think, in this race. He's made it both of his pit stops, says Scott. Remember, he got 4th place at Suzuki. He came in under the virtual safety car last time. I'm not sure if he's benefited from that this time. But yeah, we just haven't mentioned him all day long, and he's actually doing quite well in 14th.
Yeah, some very solid lap times. The pace very quick in the Trick Esports car. Maybe not quite matching some of the other team cars out there. He's got Trent Thomas a few positions ahead, Healy and Rizzo a little further up the order as well. But for Zagzowski in the Porsche, the pace is very, very good. He's just struggling maybe a little bit on the qualifying at this point. But, I mean, he's already up 7 spots from where he started this race just an hour and 20 minutes ago. So it's been a solid drive nonetheless.
Guys ahead slowing themselves up. Crispy was up in the top 3 for a while. Did he take tyres at his last stop? No, he didn't. Wow, that was a quick stop actually for Crispy. He was stationed for 1 second in the last pit stop with Crispy. He got all of his fuel and tyres done at his first pit stop, and nothing to do in his second one. As he goes 3 wide across the start-finish line. It's not going to be any luck out there. BMW very wide, tries to get the cut back. So Trent Thomas just in front of him, Jeremy Clark as well. Right, Sim Racing. Matt Morris is a bit further up the road, 5.4 seconds ahead. So many narratives, I'm sure, for each of these drivers. I'm sure they've had very entertaining races, but we've got 40-odd cars going on. A lot happening. I'm sure we'll get a few interviews, however, with our top 3 drivers. Wherever those top 3 drivers are at the end of the race. Edwards pretty certain to be on the top step right now. No worries in terms of fuel, I'm sure, for him. He could take his time at his last pit stop when he came in under the virtual safety car. He's still 13 seconds ahead of Fieben, Barter and Beswick. Haber got that gap down to 2.4 now. And on that last lap, he gained 0.2 of a second. It's going to be really close if Haber is going to catch up. I think he's going to need to rely on these guys getting really feisty with a couple of laps to go, trying to get track position. Otherwise, Haber will probably only get within maybe... The thing is, if he gets within a second with 2 laps to go, then he's right there because of the draft. But I don't think he's going to quite make it at the moment.
No, I think he's going to struggle just a little bit as we see Hugh Bartlett try to go around the outside of Fieben. Just squeaks the nose ahead momentarily, but not able to hold the position as they funnel down into turn number 1 there. But while they continue to battle as they are, it's certainly allowing Haber to close back in. The gaps continue to come back down. Haber set a great time last time by 42.6 It was about 3/10 faster than the guys just ahead of him that he's battling. So continuing to bring that gap down nonetheless, but a lot of work for him to do.
Times they've kind of just got faster and faster as this race has gone on. They're still in the mid-42s. Maybe that's a similar pace to what they were doing earlier on, but the fuel in the tyres kind of quite... Oh, that's keeping, and keeping just into quite a wide enough line. That's Hartputz that he's collided with. Hartputz, who was driving well, and that's dropped him down to 25th. Looked like he might be on for 18th place was possible for him for a moment. Far from that now. Bartonian up into 8th. See how... I mean, how far is Bartonian? He's only 11 seconds off second place, but he's always been in that next pack as Bartonian for this entire race. If he'd qualified a bit higher, then he may have been able to stay in the drafts of the front guys, but he hasn't quite had the pace to keep up with them. Only 25 seconds off the lead, and you can see that Edwards got a free 10 seconds in the pit stops. It's
been a great drive. I mean, up 11 spots from now, he finds himself with some fantastic company in the form of Rizzo and Matt Morris there as well. So this will be a solid effort. As we see the two Mark 1 cars trying to block in Hugh Barter there for ERT, and I think we're going to see another positional change, although for Eddie Beswick has to think about it and drops back in behind. So just ran out a little bit of real estate there to get that move completed. Tim Feeman doing a phenomenal job to hold on to second position as the clock's still counting down. But while these two continue to scrap, it's Brian Habron. You can just see him closing in on the back of shot now in the black Porsche there. So one of the XRC cars runs a little wide there, but these three are starting to impact their progress forward, and we're going to have a 4-car fight probably for the final lap here.
I think we're going to have 2 more laps to go after this one. We're just going to edge in another lap. Yeah, because the second half of this lap, I'm just looking at the distance that these guys have completed of this lap, 0.7 across. But the end of this lap is so quick. You can see how he's already passed the final proper corner. Is Edwards. So we'll get 2 more laps to go. Feeben loses the place now to Barter. He comes straight back again. Haber 1.4 seconds behind. Oh, if he just needs a little bit more time, I think he'll make it. I think he'll catch these guys by the end. And he's actually got the draft as well from the back marker, hasn't he? From the is that Joshua Thomas, maybe? Or Michael White? Michael White, I think it may have been, in the Fisher Motorsports car. That's you'll get the draft from. He's going to get into second place. Feeben versus Barter. Feeben round the outside. And they're just blocking the circuit at the moment. Don't make contact, guys. And Feeben just with his nose ahead at the moment. He does stay ahead. But Haber is now half a second behind. He's with them. He's right there. They've battled too much. And he's right there now. Even Rizzo's not going to be too far behind. He's only 4 seconds behind, and probably going to be lapping about a second a lap faster towards the end of this race. Haber with a 41.7 that last lap. It's fair that we see a 41, especially with the age of his tyres. And we've got 1.5 laps, and Haber's comfortably caught up. But we're now getting into the realms now where you need to start getting track position. You don't want to be 4th in line coming the final lap. You want to be 2nd or 3rd. So it could get quite aggressive now.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking at the lap that Haber just put in before to close up, 41.7, blisteringly quick. He has got the draft advantage there, as you can see the fan out for the run down into the bus stop. Barter still just ahead of Tim Feeben there. Beswick is going to have to try and do whatever he can do to hold up Haber here, because the team are going to want to try and maximise the points opportunity that Mark 1 can gain here. But holding off the likes of Harley Haber, it's going to be a really tricky feat here.
Haber's got to go. Got to make the moves. We're on to the last lap for Craig Edwards. We are going to get 1 more lap in. Oh, wow, that was some big swerving. So close to contact, nearly a quarter panel or even just a tiny tap on the rear. He will be ahead. Down the outside goes the Porsche. and it's still Barter who is ahead. Theben in third, then Beswick, and Haber with the fastest lap of the race of 41.45 in the draft. But he hasn't made any progress into one. And now he's going to have to make some big moves down into the bus stop. They've actually separated ever so slightly. Theben with a slight gap to Barter, Beswick with a slight gap to Theben now. So they're a little bit too separated. Haber goes for a big move, and that's a contact. That's going to be a punter pass, I think. And even Rizzo might be able to benefit from that one. Rizzo just stays behind. No redress there from Haber. I wonder if we're going to see a post-race penalty for him. He's a second behind Theben anyway. He's outside of the draft range. I don't think it's going to be a podium right now for Harley Haber. So it looks as though we've got our podium sitters. As we change to Edwards, we should be able to see the run to the line between Barter and Theben, as Edwards has got such a gap. He's got a brilliant strategy today, has the Fusion Sim Racing driver. He looked arguably the fastest driver. It was difficult to turn the early stages, but that virtual safety car made it a hell of a lot easier for him. A free pit stop near the end, and Craig Edwards wins the first Enduro of the season. He wins at Daytona. Who will finish second though? Theben catching up to Barter. It's quarter of a second, 0.2 of a second. It's not going to be enough. Barter will get second place. Congratulations to him. ERT on the podium. Mach 1 Esports round out the podium. Haber will finish in fourth. Will he redress to Beswick? No, he doesn't. And I wonder if there will be a post-race penalty for him. I think Morris may have got Barton in right on the line for 8th place. 1/100th of a second between the two of them, and some other close battles as well. Karan gets Nicholson. Big overspeed for him, but Nicholson coming back. Who got it? It was
just
Karan.
in favour of Karan. Yeah, that was a great run to close that fight out. Huppert's across the line, 25th position. A little bit of damage on that car.
Is he going to be overtaken by creeping? No, keeping. Apologies. Yeah, keeping will stay behind. I think they did make contact earlier on. Huppert's into the pits. What's he doing? What's he doing? The line's there, mate. It's there. He's lost a place. Why has he done that? Unless he's made all his pit stops. I don't know what Huppert's playing at there. But there you are. That is the end of this race. Pretty much just I think, in fact, we might even have everyone across the line. No, we've still got a couple more guys across the line. But Daniel, classic endurance race. This is one of the best circuits to do an endurance race because track position counts for so little around this place. And it was that fuel saving in the first part, which was ever so important for the race. We saw how Ryder fell well down the order when the pit stops were complete because he was punching a hole in the air for everyone else. It's a perfect endurance place this, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 weeks where we've got some more 90-minute races.
Yeah, definitely. I think like Daytona is a fantastic place to come for the opening of an endurance. It's been a crowning track to come to for many seasons, for multiple race series as well. So yeah, the racing we saw tonight is exactly what we would have expected. It was a lot of drafting, the guys having to be pretty precise with where they took their passing opportunities. Strategy was all key, and hats off to Craig Edwards as well, getting the pit stop done exactly where he did, managing to maintain that track advantage at the end and come home with a fantastic win. And as you say, we now go off for another 4 events. Really looking forward to the remainder of this endurance championship, because I mean, next week we go on from Daytona, we go over to Watkins Glen, which in itself is another great circuit where the draft is key as well. Throw a few more corners into it, and we're going to have some fantastic racing again.
One of everyone's favourites is Watkins Glen. Undoubtedly, that'll be great fun to visit there. Once again, as we have done, I think, for the past few seasons. Once we get to the first corner, I've just thought of that. Dear me, fingers crossed. The results then for this round 5 of the championship, the first endurance race of the championship as well, and it's Craig Edwards who wins out by 14 seconds over Hugh Barter. Timothy Theben in third place, as Harley Haber with a late contact with Eddie Beswick. I still think that might be a penalty for Haber with that hit at the second horseshoe. Rizzo finishes in 6th despite pole position. So he fell outside the top 10 at one point when being spun, I think, did Rizzo. You question whether or not he could have maybe even got 2nd place or even the win if it weren't for that tap. Kane Ryder, former leader, finishes in 7th. The strategy just didn't work for him. Matt Morris, good comeback from Morris. 10 seconds off 2nd place is a really good effort considering the start they had. Mario Bartonian finishes in 9th. Then it was Michael Healy. Good comeback from Healy, to be fair. Scott Sislowski, Trent Thomas, Jeremy Clark. Martin Chris was top of the amateur drivers, running an alternative strategy, came in for his 2nd pit stop very late. Then Jordan Pruden, Adrian Vlock, Sean Caran, Simon Nicholson, Joshua Thomas, Scott Gamble, Chris Pellet, Miles Burgess, Tom Huggan, Hayden Veld, Chris Keeping was top of the rookie drivers. Then it was Nathan Huppert, Robert Crisdale, Barton Silvassi, Michael Whiting, Christopher Hughes, Lockie Brown, Vaughan Ryder, Pat Gallo, Jordan Cullis, Julian Clean-Boosink, who retired, I believe. Yeah, he was the first of the retirees. Then it was Lee Vandenberg, who got stuck in the pit wall. Brady McHugh, Alex Crater, he got disqualified, I think. Carl Dawson, maybe he was the one who got disqualified, to be fair. Ram Purchase, Dave Clements, Aaron Specchier, and unfortunately Kester Mack, who we have just been watching a little bit for a while in the GT4 BMW. Didn't get to go out there. He had a virtual safety car, no proper safety car, however. So apparently, it was apologies. Daniel has just pointed out that there could be post-race penalties for speeding under the virtual safety car. So these are provisional results. The order at Suzuka was massively altered, so that could we could still have some changes post-race when all the stewards go through that. However, our provisional race winner is Craig Edwards. Congratulations, Craig. That was a strategic masterstroke. You knew that the virtual safety car was going to come out at that point. You positioned your car in the perfect place. You get a free pit stop, and you win by 10 seconds. You just wrote the script of that race.
Let's go with that, Sam. Yeah, good to be back on in the winner's circle again this week. That VSC, you're right. It could not have been timed better for me. I think the strategy had played out really well for me up until that point. I was cautious in the first stint, saved a lot of fuel, got my fresh tyres on, and I feel like I'd got a good undercut going. But when the virtual safety car came out, I'm like, oh, everyone else is pitted. I am in the box seat. And it turned out it's just a cruise to the flag after that.
How was it in the early stages with the pack racing that we saw? What's the aim in that situation when you're pack racing? I mean, is it purely to save fuel? Are you looking to get yourself into a good track position? What were your thoughts for the first kind of 40 minutes?
Well, the aggression was pretty high in that front 5, so I wasn't looking to pick too many people off and move up to the front of it, because as soon as you do that, someone will dive back under you if you're trying to do any fuel saving. So sitting out the back, saving fuel was the goal. I was hoping that the pace would have been a little quicker. You saw that the second draft train of Phoeben caught up and joined in. You can see Phoeben made the most of that, making his way to the podium. So congrats to him. And I did notice that the pace wasn't that quick, so I came in a little bit earlier than I was going to for my fresh tyres, and then just went as hard as I could.
In the championship, now you came into this round of the championship 4th after a bit of a disappointing Suzuka round. Dare I say, I mean, you might be leading now because of these double points. So you must be delighted how this has turned around today.
I've got a pretty good track record in the Enduros, and they are worth more points, so it's always good to do well in them. Turns out nice for your championship. And I don't think I'll have any trouble with that VSC speed like I did last week, unfortunately for me. But so I think I'll hang on to this win, and it's looking good for the championship.
Awesome. Congratulations on this race win, Craig. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. happy that Fusion Sim Racing has been able to secure 2 more sponsors for this season. So big thanks to our partners simrigs.com, Psychonic Solutions, Eclipse Signage, Darryl Carter Plastering, and Dripping Paint Graphics.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Craig, and best of luck for next week.
Thank you very much.
So I'll quickly go through the drivers then who are under investigation for the VSO. So you've got Hughes, Crisdale, Pruden, Bartonian, Clean Busink, Burgess, Crisp, Ryder, and Gamble. Beswick and Rizzo as well. So a few change. However, I think that's being added to the list at the moment. So could be some changes coming up a little bit later on. However, we've now got a man who isn't currently under investigation, Hugh Bartzer, in the comms box, and Daniel Leitz is standing by with him.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Hugh, congratulations, mate. Fantastic run for you tonight. Up 12 spots from where you started into second position. Looked like you found yourself, you got clear of the incident in turn 1, and over the course of the run through that second train, able to come up and capitalise with a solid result. How was it?
Yeah, it was a very interesting race. Like you said, I started, I think, 14th and gained 12 spots. It's a bit of a shame that we couldn't get the win with Craig pitting under the VRC, but, you know, that stuff happens, and try and get him next time. But, yeah, overall, the race was a really clean and just overall fun race.
Yeah, and from what we could see, I mean, you had yourself a good solid battle with Tim Phoeben to close it out at the end there, and likewise with Eddie Beswick. Harley Haber gave you a very solid run through the middle portion of the race, and between you two, there wasn't a huge amount between you. Were you expecting that the way it was sort of panning out at the end, you might have had an opportunity with that 4-car battling in the final couple of laps that all 4 of you guys could have potentially been in it?
Yeah, for sure. I was testing through the race to see, toe, and if I was behind someone coming through bus stop, maybe I could pip them before the line on the last lap. So I was testing that through the race and seeing, is this going to work or is that going to work? So when I came to the final lap, I knew what to do exactly. But yeah, with Eddie and I think Harley having that little bit of a tangle, that kind of gave me a bit of a gap. So that was really good. But it was a bit unfortunate that we didn't get a 4-way battle on the last lap. But yeah, overall it was really good.
Yeah, definitely. And next week, second Enduro of our 4 back-to-back, we go off to Watkins Glen. Have you put a lot of laps in there at all? And what are you expecting going forward into that one?
Yeah, I have actually put a lot of laps there in multiple cars. GT, Formula 3, Radicals. We did Scops there as well. So I've done heaps of laps there. Haven't done any on the set yet. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic, mate. We'll look forward to catching up with you at Watkins Glen next week. Before we let you go, though, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to thank Evolution Racing Team. They've done heaps for me over this course 4 months I've got into iRacing. Mum and Dad for funding this all and just supporting me in my racing career. All my sponsors, In Your Zone, Up and Go, Tridel. They're a huge support, and I can't thank you enough.
Fantastic, Hugh. But again, congratulations, mate, for second tonight, and all the best going forward in the next week for practice, and hope to see you back in Watkins Glen.
Thank you. See you then.
Hugh Bartzer there, who is 14 years old, and he's beating pretty much everyone, which is really depressing. Really depressing. Anyway, we've got Timothy Phoeben now in with us. Timothy, what are your emotions right now? I mean, frustration, relief, quite pleased because that was a good comeback from 12th place on the grid, but at the same time, it looked as though you perhaps had pace for the win. So how are you thinking at the moment?
No, I'm relieved, to be honest. It's pretty intense around Daytona. As you know, you just don't have any time to relax on the straight, obviously, because you're always getting attacked from behind. But yeah, pace was good and just sort of slowly crept up there. And yeah, had a good battle with Hugh at the end, and it was sort of where I wanted to be coming into the last lap. But he just, really dove deep down through the bus stop, and yeah, I just lost that 10th to him, and yeah, it wasn't quite close enough to get him on the line. But yeah, no, happy with third, obviously, from 12th, so no complaints from me.
Take us through what your strategy was, kind of what you did at your first, at your 2 pit stops, and do you think that strategy was the right way to go?
Yeah, so I was sort of running with Lee Vandenberg from Mark 1. We came in a little bit earlier than a few of the others, just to get clean air, because I was probably a little bit back from the leading pack at the start, but they were just holding each other up. Thought I was going to get lost out of the draft, but I ended up catching up to them, and then we were sort of all quite close together. So we decided to go out into the pits together and come back out together and see if we could sort of just work with each other. But yeah, I think there was definitely time to be gained in the undercut on the fresh tyre. I think that's probably where I made most of my time, and I think I came back out with Craig, and I probably could have run with Craig, to be honest, but I was sort of conscious of trying to hang on to Lee as well, who was sort of just out of the toe, so I was sort of trying to sit in the middle of us. But yeah, Craig ended up just sort of getting away, but yeah, it was good.
We got a few more endurance rounds to go in the next couple of weeks. I mean, do you look forward to these endurance meetings? Are they kind of the highlights of your season?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a fan of the enduros. It sort of gives you a chance to really sort of get into the race and move your way up without sort of, I suppose, getting involved in any incidents at the start. I suppose everyone's a bit more cautious going into the enduro. So yeah, you can sort of settle down and start making your way through. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I think we're at Nords, I think, next week, are we? So I don't know how much I'm looking forward to that, but we'll see.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that now. Jeez. I think it might be Watkins next week, but then, week after Nordschleife, which will be good fun. Congratulations, Timothy, for that podium. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just thanks to the Mark 1 boys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to back it up this season. I thought I was going to miss a few rounds, actually, but COVID's wreaked havoc on my annual leave sort of plan. So yeah, I'll be around the whole season, but I think had a few incidents in the first few races, so won't quite be there to challenge. There's a lot of quick guys this season. So, but yeah, thanks to you guys, and I'll catch you soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Timothy, and see you next week. Timothy Theben there, your third place finisher for Mac 1 Esports. Watkins Glen next week. Daniel, we've already had a little bit of a talk about it, but I mean, this championship is... we say it every season, don't we? How close it is. But it is remarkable how no one can get kind of an upper hand. You see Joshua Thomas, for example, for much of this season has kind of been the man to beat, and yet he's been very beatable in a couple of rounds, and today had an absolute mare. So it's so unpredictable what's going to happen next, and that really makes it one of the best shows I think that we see on the iRacing Esports Network.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all the drivers that are in the championship right now are really high caliber. You throw into it the fixed setup, which is what really equalizes the car performance here, and it really puts that emphasis on the driver potential. It really throws the door wide open for how it's going to finish. And a few seasons ago, we kind of got into a bit of a rhythm where we could almost predict how the championship was going to come out. But you throw in some races like this, and with the quality of the fields that we're seeing week in, week out, it's near impossible to pick a winner. I don't think at the start of it, we said in the first couple of laps when the train started to form up, Craig Edwards was 6th position, and we're like, well, he's saving fuel, he's not really making inroads yet. He's come out with quite a substantial lead, 14-second win advantage to take out the race. So hats off to everyone that's turning up and continuing to put all the effort in to do it. I know our race organisers are still meticulously looking over all the data to try and work out the parities on all the cars and get everything right. So all that behind the scenes equals such a phenomenal result and awesome championship at the front end that we all love to see.
Definitely. So we'll be back next week then with another endurance round, which will be Watkins Glen, and then we'll have the Nürburgring, which will be the full GP plus Nordschleife race, and then Barcelona Historic, which we visit every season, because that's still being fixed. Even though it's, I'm really anti Barcelona, but I hopefully the Barcelona hype after 12 months will soon die down. And then Road America, Monza, Sebring, and Road Atlanta, some good circuits as well to finish out the season. But certainly do tune in next week as well for the next round of the championship at Watkins Glen. There's loads more stuff coming up though on the iRacing Esports Network. So we've got of course, single seater racing, GT racing, touring cars, V8 supercars, absolutely everything. So subscribe to the Esports Network and also subscribe to Apex Racing TV as well, because we've got loads more content coming out. Probably about 15 streams or so per week. I'm sure there's something that you'll really enjoy in all corners of the world, America, Europe, and Australia. So certainly do recommend subscribing to Apex Racing TV. Later on, we've got the Apex Racing League GT Championship. That will be in the evening for Europeans. That'll be 1910 GMT. Certainly recommend tuning in for that one, the penultimate round of the championship from Okayama using the GTE cars. If you've liked this video, please do leave a like on it. We would super appreciate that, and do check out Apex Racing TV's social media at Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well. But for now, from me, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Leet, and from Scott Newton, we will say goodbye, and we will see you next time out at Watkins Glen.